said before, we're anticipating that a lot of these, or a major bulk of our transactions, are going to come from mobile and continue to do so on Black Friday. About a little bit over half of our shoppers said that they plan to spend the same amount. So I think just from a pure volume perspective, I don't anticipate anything to be considerably different than last year, other than just that we'll continue to see the consistent growth that we've seen month over month.
Like, we started selling this product out of the trunk of our cars.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Inventory management is about balance.
Get the product out. That's number one.
I've always preached sustainable growth.
So we just started building community.
Look at the data.
Product development is everything.
Yeah, we say we're a brick, click, and pop.
But you have to love what you
do. Thank you for joining us again. We're here every week during the lunch hour in Alberta, and we're talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We're 2 weeks away from Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That's in 2 weeks from today. And I know we've seen a lot of businesses that started their sales early, so it's kind of happening right now. And today we have a really awesome guest joining us, Ryan Boonstra from Sezzle, which, if you're in the e-commerce space, I'm certain that you've heard of Sezzle before. This is a company that is blowing up right now. We're seeing it all over the place. So Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and talking about Black Friday today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott. I was hoping for a couple more reallys in that introduction, but that was sufficient, I'd say.
Really. So let's get started with my first question is, for those who have been living under a rock and do not know what Sezzle is, can you start the conversation by introducing us to your amazing solution?
Yeah, so Sezzle is really, at its core, it's a financing solution. So we're a buy now, pay later solution that allows shoppers to pay over time without interest. So 4 installments over the course of 6 weeks. We've got really 2 main focuses. It's on improving the financial livelihood of our shoppers. So our mission is financially empowering the next generation. We want their dollar to go further. We want them to have an increase in purchasing power, and really select Sezzle as their preferred payment method, as there aren't any downsides where you see the credit market with high interest rates and high fees. We want to alleviate that. And so what we've also noticed is, in these shoppers, they tend to be more valuable to our retail partners. So to our listeners here that are really ramping up for Black Friday and Cyber Monday and trying to find a shopper that's going to be actionable and will come back and have a strong lifetime value, Sezzle is a great add-on to allow them to do that. So we tend to see increases in average order value, conversion rate. I could list off a whole multitude of different metrics, but for the most part, it's driving incremental lift in online sales, and doing so through really impacting shoppers' lives in a positive way.
Phenomenal. I think anybody who's shopping for something that's high ticket, like if you're going to buy something expensive, isn't it nice to have a payment plan option? Like, I think it reduces a lot of that risk, and it, like you said, increases conversions, like gets people to buy now because they have that payment option.
Yeah, and I want to clarify as well, when you say high ticket, sure, you're correct, but it's also for lower ticket items as well, where, I mean, many of our retail partners sell makeup and cosmetics or supplements that are well below $50 in a basket. And so a lot of retailers would go, oh, I would only need this for if I'm selling winter coats or electronics. And that's really not the case. And the reason for that is the cart insertion rate increases. And really, it's psychological. If you're looking at adding multiple t-shirts together in a basket that total $200, when you see that you only have to pay $50 up front with Sezzle and there's no interest, there's no risk, it makes it much easier to do so. And then, of course, for the retailer that's selling those products, you'd much rather see a transaction value of 200 when you compare it to 50.
That's a really good point. You actually answered a lot of my questions in that one shot there, because I was wondering, like, I'm a sucker for e-commerce shopping. When I see a good ad, I will follow it. If they have a good product page, I will sign up. And if it's, the whole experience is amazing, I'll buy. And just the other day, just this week, I bought a pair of boots from this company called Thursday Boots. I don't know if anyone's heard of them. They're direct to consumer company. And they had a payment option. And I was like, I was already planning on just buying it like full price. But then I saw the payment option. I was like, that makes sense to me. Like, I would rather just pay in installments. There's no interest fee. But then as I was going to checkout, I realized I had to be in the States to use that option. Is that like Can you answer that question that I have? Like,
so for Sezzle, our option is available in a few different countries. So right now, our main focus is on North America. So the US and Canada, where we launched live in the US back in 2017, Canada mid last year. We also have a pilot going on in India, and we're building out a team in Europe for a few pretty exciting launches next year. So it depends on the market that you're in. It depends on the market that your shoppers are in. But you're able to turn it on in different geographies depending on where you ship to.
Awesome. So if I was in Canada and I was and a store was offering Sezzle payment plan, I could buy in the United States with Sezzle?
You could. And so we have over 1,000 retailers that are live in Canada alone, over 20,000 that are in both the US and Canada, and many of them ship cross-border. And so for us, it's also, for the retail partners, it's been a really good way to also expand into a new market. For example, Bravado Designs is one of our retailers partners. We've just signed up and they'll be going live soon. They sell in Nordstrom and a bunch of different large big box retailers, and they're launching a new product into the States here in a couple of weeks, where they've been live in the States for a while, but they're trying to push out this new product feature and suite of or array of different products. And so they selected Sezzle, one, for the value that we're going to bring them from an incremental lift perspective, but also to introduce these products to a market that is a little bit smaller than their standard and their main focus of Canada. So there are a lot of inherent values that you wouldn't think of when you just immediately look at increasing online sales and providing flexibility to a customer.
Cool. One of the things that you said actually just made so much sense right now is that it's not just high ticket. It's it's low ticket, but most importantly, like the entire cart. So you can increase average order value. People can shop more and buy more from you now because they have this payment plan option. Are you seeing a lot of that? Like a lot of the average order value stuff?
So when we look at, say, average order values below $500, we would expect that their average order value, at least on transactions that process through Sezzle, are going to be at least 10 to 20 to even 30% higher than what they'd see with a credit card. And a lot of that is purely psychological. You come onto the product page, like you talk about having such an excellent experience that really caters to the customer. That's what we do as well. You look below a price point at, say, a sweater that's $200, which for many shoppers, that's a high and aspirational price point. However, if you look right below that and you see or 4 interest-free installments of $50 with Sezzle, you click on it, get a little more information, and realize the order still shipped right away. You can still have that instant gratification without the downside of checking your credit card statement the next day and going, oh, I really just spent $200 on a sweater. So we actually see, and that leads in another good point of, we didn't expect this at first, but we actually decreased return rates. One of our partners, Toby in California, has seen a 90% decrease in their return rate. And I think a lot of that is due to buyer remorse and just knowing that it's much easier to stomach a product when you can pay for it over time with no liability of high interest or downside like that.
So Ryan, can you explain to me on the back end, like I'm trying to understand how this works. So it would be 4 interest-free payments over the course of, I think it was 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And so what happened, so you guys are assuming all the risk, like the merchant gets paid.
The burning question.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So the merchant gets paid and the customer most likely will get the product before that 6 weeks. So before they even make that last payment. Yep. So what happens in between?
Yeah, great question. So as a rule of thumb, we want Sezzle transactions to be treated just as they would be with any other payment method. You see it come through on Shopify as a confirmed or authorized transaction. You ship that out just like you would do with a credit card. So like you said, yes, it's that instant gratification. So for example, let's say Scott comes on, buys something and misses or is late on a payment. Instead of charging him fee after fee after fee, where we do have a one-time $10 late fee, where it's standard practice for us to actually refund that if they actually make the payment within 48 hours. Our intent is not to make money off of the shopper. It's to make money from the retailer because of the value that we bring them. So even in that case, we still see that Scott is a valuable shopper that could use the value of Sezzle over the course of their time through utilizing different financial products. So instead of charging him late fees that are just really going to detract from him ever wanting to shop with us again, the worst thing that happens to him is not being sent to collections. It's not harming his credit score. It's simply being locked out of using Sezzle on a different retailer site. So our intent is that we're not going to allow Scott to keep going and digging himself into a deeper hole that he may not be able to get out of. We want to make sure that he's a responsible shopper. And so we lock them out and we allow them to come back and utilize Sezzle once again, once they've paid off their installments. And that can still allow them to build into a higher limit, opt into, if you're in the US, a new product we're launching shortly called Sezzle Up, which you can actually build your credit score. And so that's not going to disallow you from being able to take advantage of these unique product features that we're coming out with. So long story short, even if you miss a payment, even if you're defaulted, so to speak, we still see the value in you as a customer. And we want to give you multiple pathways to coming back and using us and finding our unique brands.
So you guys would take the hit then on somebody, like if somebody didn't pay or wasn't able to pay, or, you know, you lock them out of the account, but then what happens with the money? The merchant still gets paid, or how does that work?
Yeah, so of course, I mean, at this point, let's say it's a miss on the second payment. As a retailer, you're already receiving your full amount of the transaction less the processing fee next business day. So you already have that. Sezzle simply eats the cost. We're never going to come back to you and either ask for that money. We're not negatively impacting your rate unless it's a tremendous problem where we're seeing a bulk of your customers default, which has yet to happen. And so, yeah, for us, it's covering the risk, the liability. So when shoppers are looking at Sezzle and they're trying to find a partner like us, they can trust that we'll have their back and we're not going to come back at them months from now and ask for money back.
So what is the cost then to the merchant to use Sezzle? Is there a monthly fee, or is it just a performance fee? Is it a combo of the two? Martin was asking.
Yeah, Martin just asked exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, great question, Martin. And so there is a little bit of variability here with the pricing. Our standard rate is 6% plus 30 cents per transaction. Sometimes there's a bit of wiggle room depending on brand value and volume and the amount of transactions that we're anticipating will come through Sezzle. So that gives us the ability, especially on our sales team, who you can definitely reach out to. There's a demo link on our site that we can provide afterwards as well to talk to one of our many great reps. And so we've got the ability to move that price a little bit. So it tends to be between, I'd say 4.5% to 6%, really depending on where you're at with that volume. And it is really at its core, it's pay to play. So you're not getting charged by Sezzle monthly or to set up. On platforms like Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce, you can set it up in 5 to 10 minutes. It's really as simple as that. So there's not a lot of downside. And of course, if that price is something that you're worried about or you really want to see the value happen first, again, reach out to our sales team, come on the demo page.
I just put the link in there.
Beautiful. Thank you. And we'd be more than happy to make something work out for both of us.
Very awesome. So yeah, this is just phenomenal. It just makes so much sense that as a store owner, you're gonna do more sales. You can get a bigger cart value. You can get, like, you lower that risk for people to shop. Today, of course, we invited you to, we're doing a Black Friday, Cyber Monday speaker series. And I know you guys launched, like you were telling me, you just launched a big holiday program. And how does that kind of tie in for Black Friday and Cyber Monday?
Yeah, it's a great question. And like we were talking about offline before this, Sezzle and our entire company, we find ourselves at this exciting middle ground between the shopper and the brand, where we have over 20,000 partners that we want to promote to our shoppers. They've got unique discounts, they've got great initiatives, and we really want these 2 million plus shoppers to be aware of that. And so we launched a Save the Holiday campaign, which is by far and away the largest spend we have ever put in for any kind of campaign. We're giving away $20,000 in cash, not to mention a multitude of different unique one-time discount codes for our different partners. And so really for us, it's just another way to yet again showcase the exciting merchants that we are partnered with and allow them to get access to a net new customer base of actionable shoppers. And where normally they could partner with, of course, affiliate marketing programs like a Rakuten, where they're driving referral traffic. And those are very valuable solutions, but they also come at an added cost. When you talk about the referral traffic that we're providing, if you come to Sezzle.com, which nearly 2 million unique visitors do on a monthly basis, you can find those brands. And so our whole intent with that holiday campaign and with Black Friday is to just yet again further our mission of introducing these brands to our shoppers and just showcasing how great their products are, how great their initiatives are, and allowing them to reap the benefits of that.
That's awesome. So you're actually providing immense value to the merchant. Not only are you giving like the buy now, pay later kind of option, but you're also introducing them to a customer base. 2 million. Did you say 2 million site visitors every month?
Yeah, so we're approaching that. So I think last month was maybe 1.7, something like that.
So look, I know so you guys are growing.
We have done a fairly good job this year. Our growth has been quite spectacular. And in Q2 alone, we added nearly 4,000 active retailers in just the quarter alone. When I joined back in 2018, we were touting working with 5,000 alone. So the fact that we can nearly add that number in our quarter is pretty spectacular. So yeah, it's been a really exciting year for us. We were thankfully well positioned, kind of like a lot of other stay-at-home stocks like Shopify, for example, to succeed during what's going on right now. But I think a lot of that is just due to the team that we've built globally, and that's all really so bought into it, enhancing our mission of financially empowering the next generation.
Yeah, awesome. I think that makes so much sense for 2020 when maybe people don't have as much cash flow. It's nice having that payment plan option.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, one of the things we've been harping on a lot with Black Friday is like there's two goals with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. One, you have an opportunity to acquire a bunch of new customers who have never shopped with you before. So you get them in with like some really good offers that are going to blow their mind and get them in the door. And the second thing is that we want to sell to existing customers and increase the lifetime value of our existing customer base. So, and with the first one, when we're focused on customer acquisition, not a lot of people are crazy about discounting really large. So we say, if you're going to discount large, you should actually focus on increasing average order value. So we say like bundle, offer tiered discounts where you get a bigger discount if you're ordering more. Are you seeing a lot of things like that with Sezzle? Like, are people doing a lot of bundling and focusing on that AOV component?
So, I mean, every retailer, of course, as you very well know, is going to have a different strategy on this. What we're noticing, especially in this month alone, is there are a lot of segmented discounts, whether that be related to shoppers that have purchased with a given retailer before in the past, have purchased with similar products. They've got their data and they know it's an actionable shopper that they can promote X discount to. I haven't seen as much of that bundling. I think a lot of it is shoppers or retailers are really looking for how they can provide the best customer experience. Maybe it is through a discount. Maybe it is through a limited time drop. Frank and Oak, one of our new retail partners, just launched a pre-Black Friday sale this weekend that we're also going to be promoting to our shoppers. So there's a multitude of angles for that. But I'm thinking, especially for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, it's so crucial that retailers are discounting and merchandising early and often, but also considering the different mediums that they're promoting these discounts on. For example, 85% of our shoppers are transacting on mobile. If you're not giving the same consistent experience on a mobile phone that you would be online, your Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, or the entire month of November is not going to be as successful as you would hope it to be. So there's a multitude of different things that you need to consider when you come up with your merchandising plan, which candidly should already be done by now. But if you're just starting out, I would get to it as quickly as possible.
And Ryan, you touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but is there any like a particular niche or a particular product category where you see Sezzle used the most?
Yeah, that's a good question. So apparel, fashion, and cosmetics are really where we succeed quite a bit. But that said, our product is more so industry agnostic, where it's more related to the price point opposed to the actual industry. The main reason for that is we work with companies that sell apparel, fashion, cosmetics, all the way to car detailing services and auto body shops. To even there's a company, Santé, out of Montreal that sells consumer packaged goods. And so it's more so related to what's the total price point opposed to which industry it's in. Of course, we see different success in different industries because they can be promoted differently, but it's more so price opposed to industry.
And then from a shopper's standpoint, if I was, I'm a shopper on a website and I want to use Sezzle, I want to do the 4 payments. What is the process there? Do I have to sign up in some way to be able to use Sezzle as a shopper that's different from the merchant?
So it is a little different than the merchant, given it's a different sign up link. But that said, most of our signups occur at checkout, unless it's a repeat customer, which over 82% of our shoppers are. So there's two different ways. You could come to Sezzle.com and utilize that store directory or catalog that I spoke of beforehand and be introduced to all of our brands, sign up there on Sezzle.com and then go shop. You could utilize our app on iOS or Android and shop through that, utilize our virtual card solution and shop anywhere at a multitude of really exciting retailers in the US, at least right now. Or it's at checkout and you're going through it. And Scott, you mentioned this earlier, a willingness to sign up or interact and engage with a brand, just depending on that experience. Our checkout experience is something that we toggle with and tweak with on a weekly basis, because like you said, we know that that's such an important experience. So that's our probably most impactful sign up is going to be once you've entered, say Shopify, for example, your billing and shipping information, you come to see credit, PayPal, and Sezzle sitting there as your payment method. You're able to sign up right then and there. And our approval process, mind you, takes 1 to 2 seconds. So you click complete order after you've entered in your information, most of which is already auto-filled. You know right then and there if you're going to get approved and can check out with Sezzle. And regardless, that approval rate hovers around 92%. So nearly all of our customers are getting approved.
So what does that approval process look like?
So, I mean, 1 to 2 seconds, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. So it's a soft credit check, one that's not going to impact their credit score. Which I think is the most important part, because that would be a giant sticking point for a lot of shoppers when they try to check out. It's a soft credit check, but let's say, for example, you came on and we didn't see a spectacular credit profile. We know at Sezzle that, especially for young millennials that maybe don't even have a credit card, they probably either have a low score, poor history, maybe they have a decent score, but it's just not a long history. And it doesn't give us a holistic overview of what that customer's credit profile looks like. So instead of denying them on the spot, we've partnered with different bureaus like Experian, Equifax, and similar to what Experian does with their Boost, where they're looking at different criteria. So, okay, have you paid your bill? Tell us your Verizon bill last month. How often have you been paying on time for utilities? So we're looking to see if that email is linked with other accounts. And if they have good repayment history, we allow that to really further build that credit profile and allow that shopper to check out with us.
And that all happens in 1 to 2 seconds, all of that.
1 to 2, maybe 3 to 4, depends if Scott's rambling about really a couple times. So I guess it really does depend.
Martin is asking, he says, sorry if you already answered this, but is there a charge to the customer if they pay on time? So I think there isn't, right?
That's a great question. You're correct. There's no charge to the customer if they pay on time.
So I have a pretty obvious question. Like is there why doesn't every single e-commerce store have Sezzle as an option right now? And is that coming?
That's a great question. One of the main ones is also going to be price point, especially if you're a retailer that sells products that are also very high-end electronics. Right now, our core product only goes up to $1,500 for a single transaction and $4,000 for across all brands, which is still a fairly high limit. It's just very relative. So for some retailers, it may not make sense. That said, we partnered with Ally, one of the largest banks in the United States, to launch a longer term product next year. So that's going to allow us the ability to work with more. Now, that said, to further answer your question, it's just going to be related to the price point. And people they many times get taken aback from realizing that it could be considerably more expensive than, say, offering a credit card. But that said, it's a very short-term outlook on the solution. Yes, there may be an upfront cost to it. There's also an upfront cost to PPC campaigns or advertising on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you look at the return on your ad spend, it's very easy to stomach. And so that's why when we're talking to retailers, we like to build out a profile of, hey, we're projecting that we're going to process 10% of your transactions at 20% higher volume, which tends to more than make up for the cost of Sezzle in the first place. We wouldn't have a business if the solution didn't more than pay for itself. And so that's our goal. That's why I have a job, because I'm trying to really allow retailers to better understand that, because their mindset and their view of financing solutions in many cases is slightly jaded, as they're used to the longer term solutions that charge interest and credit cards that we and our parents have been used to for so long. And it's all about changing that mindset and realizing that this really is a customer friendly product.
That's probably my biggest takeaway so far, is it's not just high ticket, it's an order volume strategy.
Exactly.
Like, you can get people to order more, then it'll offset the cost.
Yeah, it just depends on what kind of business you are. If you're churning a lot of lower ticket items, our intent is that we increase the average order value. If you're selling, like Frank and Oak, again, I'll speak to, is launching a new outerwear campaign. Our goal for that campaign is going to be to increase the conversion rate. Of course, it's going to build into increasing the average order value, but we look at it in different ways, depending on the merchant, of course.
I love that you guys have that. I think Scott said this earlier, but the merchant, just the catalog, and that you're actually driving traffic to their website. Does that happen? Like, do you do that with every merchant? As soon as they sign up for Sezzle, you put them in, and then how do you, I guess, like, how do you drive traffic to individual brands, or do you drive it to, like, kind of like collection pages of brands that are similar? Or how do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So not all of our brands are listed on Sezzle.com. But that's more so because we request that they upload a high-res image, and whether that be a logo and a lifestyle image of their product. And just not all of our retailers have done so. We just launched a brand new site on Sezzle.com last week that our marketing and product teams did a fabulous job on. And their whole intent with revamping that was to do a better job at introducing these brands in a segmented approach. So beforehand, yeah, we listed out all the different verticals that we worked in: men's and women's apparel, sporting goods, where now we're taking an even more segmented approach where you can shop with our ethical and sustainable stores. As Canadians, you can go and look at all of the stores that are based in Canada, not ones that just ship to Canada, but the ones that are based there and built of an employee base of Canadian shoppers, so you can support your country. And so, like you said, yes, we've shifted a little bit more towards collections. We came out with a multitude of different lists that are focused on specific products that are shipped by our retail partners. So basically a gifting list for the holiday season. So we're trying to innovate as much as possible, and are kind of shifting more towards that marketplace kind of approach.
Are you doing anything specific for BFCM to drive traffic to, merchants that are maybe having BFCM sales? Are you doing anything like that?
Yeah, and so, I mean, a bulk of that comes from our Save the Holiday campaign, where that's running every time you make a transaction on Sezzle. Download our app, opt into different payment options. It's a gamified solution that allows you to get game pieces and win different prizes for doing different tasks. And so that's a giant promotion for us on Black Friday. As we get closer, we're going to have more segmented emails as well that are not only introducing specific discounts, but for example, okay, we've got a lot of really exciting menswear brands that we've signed, like Untuckit, Ministry of Supply, Reigning Champ. And we know we've got a really strong, say, male user base that would shop at these brands based on the data that we have on them and where they've shopped in the past. So we segment and group these users into a tranche and send them really segmented and personalized emails related to what we think would make the most sense for them. So we try to make really educated recommendations for our shoppers. And again, it's just a great way of introducing our brands to them.
Cool. And I'm curious about, because obviously, with the different apps and things, merchants always ask us, well, what makes this one different from this one? And, for these pay as, or not pay as you go, but, buy now, pay later ones, what would you say is kind of the prime differentiator that differentiates you from any of the other apps that are similar that are out there right now?
That's a great question. And like you said, it is a market that's really developing globally, and there's so many different players. If anything, what that does is really just validate that this solution makes sense and there's a reason for it and it is valuable on both sides. That said, the main difference for us has always been our mission and our intent to do more with this product that we believe can really turn into a public good. So what we did was we just became a certified public benefit corp. And so our next step in that process is to become a certified B Corp. So joining, again, companies like Frank and Oak and Allbirds and Patagonia that are now really legally required to take a stakeholder approach and consider all avenues of their business. Of course, still a for-profit entity, but now we're looking at how do we impact the environment? How do we impact our customer base? And so how can we really further our mission in our company and launch new product features that will allow us to continue to improve the livelihood of our customers and our merchants? So that's been a big driving force for us. And it's going to be why we're the highest consumer rated solution on the market. You take a look at our Trustpilot reviews, our reviews on the App Store, iOS and Android, all of which are either a 4.8 or a 4.9 out of 5. And so when you look at the investments that we've made internally on our team from our capital raise earlier this year, a lot of that has been in our support team and making sure that we can give the experience that shoppers are accustomed to when they come on the Sezzle site, that can be consistent. Because at the end of the day, as a retailer or a merchant partner, when you partner with Sezzle, we're a financing solution, and we deal with shoppers' payments and their funds and money that's typically close to their heart. And so you need to trust that you're partnering with an experience that is very similar to the one that you already offer, but more importantly than that, one you can trust. And year in, year out, we've proven to do so.
Yeah, I also love how you guys you have your Sezzle hashtag on Instagram too, which I was kind of looking at before. I was surprised. I mean, it gets a lot of use. A lot of people use it. So I think you guys, even on social media, you have a really big following, and I like how much you promote the brands and the merchants that work with you. I think you guys do a really good job with that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And a lot of that is really just due to our marketing team. We've gained 15,000 Instagram followers in the last 2 weeks alone, just from launching that campaign. So I think maybe using that hashtag might be one of the ways to actually earn a prize point in that campaign. I'll have to double check, but
that explains it, because when I was looking, I was like, whoa, this is a popular hashtag. But yeah, that's really cool.
If anyone has a question, you could pop it into the chat. Ryan, thank you so much for the information so far. This has been really good.
Yeah, of course.
There was a couple of questions or a question by Tiny Andrea on in our Rich Master group, and she was asking, I think this might have been a second back, but she was asking about being locked out of an account. She's asking how could they be locked out? Can't they just make a new account?
So theoretically, sure. And so by locked out, really what I meant was they could, of course, still log into their account, change payment methods. They're simply prevented from utilizing our solution on another site. Now, of course, you could go in and you could try to create another account with, say, a different email. But if we're not able to run that credit profile and there's no history on it, there's going to be more of a likelihood that you're not going to get approved for that solution. Of course, you can always find ways to game the system. But really, when you look at our solution, it's one that's designed to make the life of the shopper easier. Our shoppers, 90% of which want to use us as their preferred payment method, are working diligently to pay us back, not because they just feel a responsibility to, but because they know they want to use this solution on other sites. 82% of our shoppers are repeat users. And so they're not paying us back because they have to. They're paying us back because they want to continue to use this on other brands. And especially as we approach the holidays, when we're not expecting that our shoppers are going to do much differently than what they did last year, at least from what our survey results have seen. But they are going to be more cognizant. They are going to understand that maybe it is a more difficult time financially. And so Sezzle's a way that they can put multiple paychecks in between these purchases. And I think that's a value add that shoppers are really looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think for how often, is there going to be a bad egg every once in a while? Sure, I think that happens with a lot of things, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't seem to happen very often.
Yeah, and our public facing loss rates are well under 1% now. And so it just goes to show that this is not a common occurrence. And most of our shoppers are pretty financially stable.
So I am curious, I don't know if how much of this you're allowed to share, but do you have any sort of examples of merchant success stories where, they really saw kind of a big jump in their revenue after they installed Sezzle, or a big jump in their average order value, or any kind of prime case studies that you like to share?
Yeah, that's a great question. Melt Cosmetics, one of our retail partners, last Black Friday, they saw their average order value increase. I believe the last ad that we promoted was around 41%. And so it's just, like I said before, a lot of that is just simply from enticing customers to add more items to their cart because they don't have to pay as much up front. On standard, our benchmark is really looking to increase that AOV over 10%. And so we're seeing that with our retail partners like the Untuckits that I mentioned before, and Reigning Champ, and Altitude Sports in Canada for our Canadian market, and at the end of the day, we wouldn't have 20,000 retail partners if we didn't provide them with that value and pay for itself. And so, I mean, I could pick any merchant out of a hat, run a report, and we'd see a higher AOV.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially we touched on this, but going into this season out of all where people just are going to be a bit more, I mean, I predict anyways, I guess we'll see, but maybe a little bit more careful about, where they have less money to spend, or the money that they do have to spend, they're going to be particular about where they spend it. So I guess that still remains to be seen how much of that actually happens, but just having options, I think the more options you can offer your customers at this point, the better. And I think Sezzle's a good one there.
Yeah, and I think a good rule of thumb on that is, as a business owner or a director of e-commerce, when you look at creating a strong and optimized checkout or site in general, your main focus should not be on what your standard procedure would be on checking out. It's going to be really coming to the understanding that a lot of people are in an entirely different financial situation than you are. You and I, for example, probably use different bank accounts, different credit cards, probably pay them back at different times. And so that's what you need to consider. Are all of your transactions going to come through Sezzle? No, but a bulk of them will be. And you can trust that when you add it on your site, it's going to be a responsible way for shoppers to pay and pay in larger increments.
Yeah. Just before I ask my next question here, if anybody has any final questions for Ryan, please put them in either the chat here or in the group, and I'll make sure we ask him. But my kind of question that ties it, I guess, all back together into Black Friday is, I'm curious, just from your perspective, do you have any predictions, anything that you think we might see, anything we should watch out for, any way that you think it's going to be way different than before, or maybe the same? I'm curious about if you have a crystal ball, Ryan's crystal ball, and what it would say.
Well, I'll definitely not going to say that I've got a crystal ball by any means, but we've already seen that this year, of course, the entire retail landscape is going to be different because of COVID. But I think regardless, even aside from that, companies like Target and Walmart closing on Thanksgiving, which I think is a really good way or a really good route for the entire retail market to go down. Yes, you may lose some revenue in that specific day, but it allows shoppers to be with their families, and I think makes you more endearing as a brand. It's not going to be a short-term value add for them, but I think at the end of the day, it will reap the benefits in the long run. Like I said before, we're anticipating that a lot of these, or a major bulk of our transactions, are going to come from mobile and continue to do so on Black Friday. About a little bit over half of our shoppers said that they plan to spend the same amount. So I think just from a pure volume perspective, I don't anticipate anything to be considerably different than last year, other than just that we'll continue to see the consistent growth that we've seen month over month, which for us has been nearly 24% month over month, which a lot of companies are accustomed to seeing year over year. And so at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a fairly similar Black Friday. But again, I think what we're seeing now compared to years in the past is merchandising and discounts are stronger than they have been in the past. They're happening earlier. And they're also they're different, they're segmented, and they're depending on what you've purchased in the past. And so the data that you have on the shoppers that are either on your email list and can be segmented in something like, say, Klaviyo, for example, or shoppers that have just signed up for this list and are really looking for an enticing introductory offer to really latch onto your brand. So I think at the end of the day, if I could recommend anything, and what we do from sales and merchant success is to continue to focus on the customer experience, put yourself in that position. What would you like to see? And offer discounts as early as possible, and change them up a bit. Do something different that you've done in the past, because you don't want people to get in that kind of stalemate mindset where, oh, I just see the same Black Friday sale year in, year out, and it's not as enticing. It's just, okay, you've got a lot of good products that are on sale, but we're going to throw 20% off, say, our full price items. It's not as enticing for the customer. You've really got to go go to the wall, so to speak, this holiday season. We're seeing it with our merchant partners. It's been successful for them so far. And so if I could suggest anything, I'd try to replicate it.
Yeah, I think I have actually seen a few stores here that are committed to staying closed. Well, they were staying closed over, Canadian Thanksgiving and then American Thanksgiving. So, and I don't know about sort of where everybody else is from, but here in Edmonton, they actually just imposed some new restrictions starting today for the next couple of weeks, they say. So, things are closing sooner. I'm sure, I don't know to what extent that's going to push more people online, or people going to actually be shopping, going to malls. I don't know. I don't think it's going to look the same as it did in previous years. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Scott, as you said earlier, we're 2 weeks away. So if you haven't finalized your plans, do so. If Sezzle isn't in your plans yet, let's let it be. We'll send out the link afterwards and really show you guys the value that we can bring. And if you're not really engaged in that Merchant Mastery Facebook account as well, I would recommend you do so. One of my business partners, aside from Sezzle, and I are creating an e-com site as well. We joined the group just a little bit before even finding out we were going to speak on this show, and so I've gotten some value from that. So get engaged, talk to other people in your space, and learn about what they're doing, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and it's just going to give you a much better ground to stand on as we come into Black Friday and whatever's going to happen next year.
I think selfishly, this has been a phenomenal learning experience for us. Like, we work with like 50 to 60 e-commerce businesses, and I know that some of them are going to need this. Like, it's a true value add. So I definitely think everybody should go check it out. I know we're going to check it out for multiple merchants.
Ryan, is your store going to be open by Black Friday, or is that like a 2021 thing?
That's a good question. We soft launched it last week, so we're working on trying to stay true to my word here and working on finalizing our merchandising plan, which should go live on Sunday. So I can share more about that afterwards, but just about ready to go. Are
you allowed to tell us what it is that you sell, or is that still low?
Yeah, so I partnered with a menswear retailer in Toronto called Antihero 13. Just incredibly high quality garments, all made in Italy from unique brands that use the same mills as, say, Prada, Brunello Cucinelli, and some of the really highest end brands you could find in the world, but at a much more attainable price. And so I've always been one that's really admired fashion and kind of cutting edge products, and how can I put something on that makes me feel good and confident. And that's what we sell, but we want to make it more attainable to people, where it's going to be tough for really anybody to go into, say, Cucinelli, for example, and throw on a $6,000 suede jacket. So we've got products that I candidly think are just as high quality, but much more attainable.
Do they have a brick and mortar location?
So they used to be on Queen Street in Toronto. Unfortunately, COVID has shifted the plans a bit and put a lot of people's brick and mortar business really out. So we've entirely shifted online. And so we're looking at potentially opening a storefront next year. But right now we're focused on really just building and scaling a brand that we've built while my business partner, Peter, has built over the better half of 25 years in stores in LA and Vancouver and Toronto. And so now how can we capitalize on that? And I think really the answer is online.
Yeah, I think it's definitely shifting that way a lot more this year, but I think we were already headed in that direction. It's just accelerated it like crazy this year.
Exactly.
I just saw a report from eMarketer. I don't know if anyone checks out eMarketer. They put out lots of good graphs and charts about e-commerce trends, and they projected that this year, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, there's going to be a 35% lift in how much people spend this Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I think we're
compared to last year.
Yeah, compared to last year, 35%.
Yeah. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do like a debrief after it's all done and just like look at some of the numbers and just see even from our clients what's going on and compare the data, because I think we could see some interesting things.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's going to be really interesting for retailers to do is really try to segment your data and look at the different age ranges of shoppers that are checking out, because we're seeing actually a surprising amount of movement or survey responses from the older generations. It's saying that they may actually spend more. And so it'll be really interesting to see if that actually comes to fruition or not. But I think once we get through Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you're going to have a lot of really unique data to parse through and better understand for how you can make your business better in 2021 and beyond.
Yeah, I think just this reminded me when you said about the older generation and the age ranges. I know, like for my parents, for example, baby boomers, they're just kind of starting to get comfortable with e-commerce. Like my mom will get targeted with ads, and then she'll be like, "I like this shirt. Can you buy it for me? I don't want them to steal my Visa information." I'm like, "But you want me to do it?" So it's like, "Mom, come on, it's safe." But and so I think they're kind of slowly starting to come around to it, because I think they're just realizing the convenience of it as well, and just getting more comfortable with getting packages dropped off at their door and all of that stuff. So I think we might see a bit of a shift there too. But I actually did think of one last question. When you mentioned Klaviyo, I'm curious in terms of integrations. Do you guys, do you integrate with something like Klaviyo where people will get, like, you can set up automated flows or something like that when somebody's payment and stuff like that is coming out, or how do you do that?
So the way I would look at it is we integrate more so with the e-commerce platform itself, and that would sit alongside of something like Klaviyo. And then when you look at a flow in Klaviyo, whether it be an abandoned cart flow or marketing automation campaign or new signups just coming onto your newsletter, instead of just having Sezzle be directly integrated into it, we provide our partners with a multitude of different assets, whether it be email templates, social media templates, banner and hero ads that they can incorporate into those emails. So it's not a direct integration into Klaviyo or apps like that, but really we've realized that promoting Sezzle drives the usage, it drives the AOV, it drives the conversion. So as a business owner and a business manager, you're really enticed, and it's advantageous for you to take advantage of promoting this. And so we try to give you as many assets as possible to do so. And through Klaviyo, I think is one of the best ways to do it.
You guys do send do you send a kind of a reminder that's like, hey, your next Sezzle payment's coming out tomorrow, or do you send anything like that, or are they just kind of?
Oh yeah, that's automated on our side. The retailer
on your side, okay.
Have to do that. Okay. So we send email, text notifications, push notifications through the application as well. So trust me, you are not going to have a payment creep up on you. You will know.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that was, I don't see any other questions here. So I think we're kind of nearing the end. If anybody does have anything else that kind of pops into your mind after you've digested some of this, feel free to put it in the Merchant Mastery group. I think, Ryan, you're in there, so we can all hop on and answer it there. But otherwise, we only have one more of these left next week, and then it's already Black Friday after that. So it's kind of crazy how quickly this creeped up on us. But Ryan, I do want to really thank you for coming on, because like Scott said, this was kind of also a learning opportunity for us too. I think Sezzle is really going to open a lot of doors for many.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately it's about customer experience. Like, what customer doesn't like to have options and be in control of the shopping experience? So I think Sezzle is nailing it on that, and we can't wait to use it a lot in the future here.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. Props to both Vessi and Fancy, who have been just massive retail partners of ours who already spoke on here. So I'm happy to have joined that list. We'll definitely be tuning in next week to see what you guys have to say. But at the end of the day, I'll post some more info about Sezzle, who we are, what we do in that Facebook page as well. And I'll give some contact info. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'll make sure you're put in the right spot. And especially as you consider we're 2 weeks away, that's not going to prevent you from adding something like Sezzle in this short time frame. Very easy to get up on really all of the major e-commerce platforms. So if it is something that you're interested in, seeing some lifts in average order value, conversion rate, lifetime value of your customers, which is going to be, of course, a little more long-term, please engage with me and our team on that post, and we'd be more than happy to help you out.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. We look forward to seeing the information in the group, and everybody will be back again next week at the same time. Ivana, what's happening next week?
That's a little secret still. So hang tight on that. I'll be announcing that on Monday, what we're doing for our final series.
Trying to pull the secret out of you, but I guess we'll all have to.
You'll have to wait, Scott. You'll have to wait.
Okay. Thanks so much, Ryan, and everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Go check out Sezzle, and we'll see you again really soon.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Ivana.